So can I ask a question?
Sure.
Rick and Cameron, all right. So in the gay men's community, would you say it's more prevalent than in the lesbian community?
Yeah, definitely.
So if you're to believe the media, infidelity is absolutely rampant in relationships. So the question is it as prevalent in gay and lesbian relationships? And are there alternative lifestyles, maybe polyamory or open relationships, that help solve for some of these issues?
I think it's just as prevalent. I think in the heterosexual community, there's infidelity, and in the gay community. And I think that people are trying to figure out how to make long-term relationships work. And they're coming up with the newest 8-year contract, right, which I think is brilliant. I've worked with many couples and individuals that are trying to navigate polyamory because monogamy isn't working. We see it, the divorce rate is over 50%, and they're trying to make it work. Very complicated, not easy. But yeah, so to answer your question, I would say it's just as prevalent.
I'd have to agree with you, just basically because life and relationships, just as a whole, they're difficult things. I mean, there's all sorts of little bullshit things we have to put up within a date in itself. So when you get into a relationship and you're just trying to navigate those natural waters and just try to make sure you succeed, I mean, it can become rough. So like you said, people are turning over to those open relationships. And I mean, if it works for them, why change it?
I think part of it too is we throw this barrier up that suddenly, oh, I'm in a relationship. And now suddenly we just define this as like some big scary thing. And whether you're gay or straight, it doesn't really matter. When you enter into relationship, the first thing that happens is, oh, how do I do this? And I always just laugh because, are you fucking serious? You've been having relationships for how many years? I mean, I'm 49 years old. I've been doing relationships since I was 1.
Yeah.
And suddenly, oh, how do I do a relationship? You do it just like you do everything else.
So can I ask a question?
Sure.
Rick and Cameron, all right. So in the gay men's community, would you say it's more prevalent than in the lesbian community?
Yeah, definitely.
Why?
And do you think there's more tolerance for it? Because in the lesbian community, I don't think there's as much tolerance for both polyamory or relationships on the side. It's not well tolerated.
Well, I mean, for us, it's like a catch-22. It's like, oh, you're so progressive. Oh, that's a slut. You know, so it can go either way. So, if you just don't worry about everybody else.
I see younger women, and in conversations I'm having, being much more open and exploring polyamory, really trying to navigate that. And I don't see many of them doing it very successfully. Really, so far, nobody. That I've connected with in any way, but I know lots of women who are talking about it, and women who are single trying to approach polyamory with multiple women that they're interested in. But I haven't seen anybody who's really making it work.
Okay, so why isn't it working?
Because nobody wants to talk about sex.
Okay, explain.
How were we conditioned? We were conditioned that, okay, let's do this, but let's not talk about it. And maybe I'm really off base in my thinking.
I don't think you are, because
it's not your turn to talk.
I'm sorry. She said we could interrupt.
That's true. That's true.
But I think it is about sex, and it's about the meaning that we assign to being in a partnered sexual relationship versus, well, what the heck does it mean if I'm having sex with you and we all know about it? How does that work?
I think there's also the piece of just, it sort of goes against our wiring. Like the jealousy, the feeling threatened, the fear of abandonment. You know, it just goes, for me, it's like when I think about it in theory, it sounds like something, it sounds good, right? But then I think I would be so jealous, I would feel so threatened, yet I'm confident. So it's, you know what I mean? It goes against, and I see my clients, they struggle with it. You know, they really want to make it work, and they're communicative, right? They're really approaching it in a way that's open. They're trying to be as open as they can be, and they run into it almost every time.
But think about going back to our teenage years. How did we learn to be socialized into sexual or any kind of relationship? Oh, well, I don't want anybody to know I'm dating somebody, or mom and dad, we can't let them know that I'm actually interested in this. It's always been this shroud of don't ask, don't tell, so to speak. Before don't ask, don't tell was anything, but this is how we were socialized as human beings. And now suddenly we're starting to have these conversations about, okay, should we have an open relationship? Should we be in bed together and then tomorrow we're gonna go whatever, be with such and so and screw him, fuck him, whatever, and come home, I love you, honey. Oh, I do love my partner. But it's that conversation that we never were taught to have, no more than we were ever taught to have a conversation that, oh, I'm gay. It's the same sort of basis.
It sounds like the answer to this question about is infidelity as prevalent in the gay community as it is in the straight community, there's sort of two answers. One is yes, right? We're all sort of playing on an even field. People are cheating if they're gonna cheat. And two, men kind of get a bad rap. Like, you guys are really have a stereotype out there that the community thinks you're a bunch of dogs out there having lots of sex. So perhaps we should dig into that a little deeper.